All right, y'all, welcome to the show. I hope everybody out there is having a great day. These Epstein files are absolutely bananas. They are crazy. However bad you think they are, think again, because they're worse. There's no way around it. So this is, without a doubt, a cabal of pedophile billionaire elites who run the world. But many of them are also into bestiality. Many of them are also into torture. They're into cannibalism. I've never been more certain in my entire life that extreme wealth rots your soul. It kills your morality. It kills your ethics. It rots your soul. So sit back, relax, buckle up. We're going to go through all of it. And you are going to need to use that little Men in Black flashy thingy to erase your memory by the time we're done with this. So let's start here. In the new Epstein files leak, we have heavy illegal redactions protecting the perpetrators. So this is now the second time that that's happened. It's on purpose. This is totally in contravention of the law. They don't care. There's also doxing of Epstein victims again. Supposedly an accident, but this is now the second time that that's happened as well. You have incriminating documents on Trump posted and then pulled down and then reposted, apparently, when they realized the cat was out of the bag. You have Epstein discussing Trump raping underage girls at his house. You have Elon visiting Epstein Island. You have Bill Gates getting STDs from Russian girls. We have allegations of sex trafficking and auctioning underage kids at Mar-a-Lago. We have Melania's close relationship with Ghislaine exposed. Nobody knew how close they were until this new round of leaks. And you have the Trump pick for Fed chair exposed in the Epstein files as well. So many people, it's like 30 people or something like that in the Trump regime are in the Epstein files and have ties to Epstein, which, you know, leads to very disturbing questions about the nature of power in our country. We also have this. There are more than 5,300 files containing over 38,000 references to Donald Trump in the latest batch of the Epstein files. So I like this reply. Somebody said to me when I posted this out there from the New York Times, there's more mentions of Trump in the Epstein files than Jesus in the Bible. There's around 900 to over 1,200 times in the New Testament they mention Jesus. Like I said, 38,000 references to Donald Trump in the Epstein files. Absolutely incredible. Probably the worst part of these new Epstein files are all of the pages that just say CSAM not scanned. And of course, what that means is it is exactly what you think it is. It is Fredophilia. And it's pictures, it's videos, and there's a hell of a lot of it. And so, of course, they can't release that. So it says CSAM not scanned. Absolutely disgusting stuff. This came out the other day, but Ghislaine Maxwell alleged that 29 friends of the notorious sex trafficker Epstein had been protected by the Justice Department by way of secret settlements. Secret settlements. So this might explain why we haven't seen anybody go to prison for the Epstein scandal, is because it looks like the government cut deals with 29 of them, probably including all 10 co-conspirators. Let's go through the basics real quick. So shout out to CoffeeZilla. He posted a video on his Voidzilla channel here going through it. Let's watch it. Then I'll come back and give you a lot more. Here we go.
The FBI just dropped 3.5 million files, and it is incredible. Huge bombshells about some of the most powerful people on the planet. I can't believe they let some of this stuff out. I mean, it is stunning. Honestly, one of the biggest lies we've seen is the idea that the FBI could possibly come to us and say, not only is there not a client list, there was no credible evidence that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals. Guys, we're about to see planned blackmail to one of the most powerful people on the planet, and that is Bill Gates. Listen, there's a lot we're going to get to, but we have to start with probably the craziest revelation here, which is Jeffrey Epstein emailing himself about Bill Gates. Now, if you don't know, Bill Gates and Epstein had a relationship post-2008. That's a big year. You're going to hear a lot today, because 2008 was the time that Epstein pled guilty for soliciting of somebody under the age of 18. He was a predator at this point. Everybody knew it. Now, eventually, Bill Gates would get divorced when all of this came out. Melinda Gates said it was part of the direct cause for the divorce. She said she met Epstein and said he was evil.
He was evil personified.
So you have to understand, this is like Bill Gates' kryptonite. He's one of the richest men on the planet. He's got this huge philanthropy arm. But this relationship with Epstein has been a huge problem for him. And Epstein appears to have known that, because in 2013, Bill Gates appears to be distancing himself from Jeffrey Epstein. And Epstein seems to have a problem with that. He says, I assume the dedication to our relation went both ways. Larry has now asked me to recommit to a confidentiality agreement. Basically, he's got to shut up about his relationship with Bill Gates. And this is where the blackmail starts, and it comes in the form of like, if I were you, I would do X if I were the type of guy that you should be. He says, in that regard, I suggest I buy you the house that you had your heart set on. In addition to 5 years of severance, we'll buy you out of the investment contract we agreed upon, 30 to 40% of an $100 million partnership for $30 million in today's terms. That's what I would have done had I been in your shoes. Then he lays out what he has on Bill Gates, or what he says he has. Quote, to add insult to injury, you subsequently, with tears in your eyes, implore me to delete the emails I had regarding your STD. Your request that I provide you antibiotics that you could surreptitiously give to Melinda, and the description of your I mean, this is insane. It's completely insane. It's like basically laying out in text form, I would give me millions of dollars, and I can't believe you're asking me to delete the message where you were going to give STD medication to your wife without her knowledge. I mean, it's crazy. It's just completely obvious what he's doing here. It's just a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Here's what you should do. But now that coming out after Epstein's death, this looks really bad for Gates, obviously, because you usually wouldn't blackmail somebody for something that's completely false or fake. I mean, maybe he did that. But we also know Bill Gates had affairs. Obviously, Melinda credits it for their divorce. So it's hard to believe there was nothing sketchy going on. Bill Gates, of course, maintains that it was completely above board. He says the fact this allegation was in here just shows how much Epstein was willing to defame people. But Epstein lays it out. He says he helped Bill get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls, facilitating his illicit trysts with married women, and to being asked to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments. Look, guys, this is exactly what we suspected the whole time. Epstein was providing services to rich people and expecting payment via blackmail. Now you might say, and it's true, that we don't know that Epstein ultimately sent that version of an email to Gates. All we know is he sent that to himself. He may have planned the blackmail and just been drafting something. But what we do know are two things. The Wall Street Journal has reported that Gates was threatened by Epstein over an affair. We also know that after this blackmail email Jeffrey sent to himself was written, eventually Gates sent a $2 million donation to MIT directed by Jeffrey Epstein, which is a bit weird if you had distanced yourself from the guy and y'all had this big falling out.
So he probably did the threatening in person. Like he did like a rough draft and typed out his thoughts on it. Then he did the threatening in person, and then Gates gave him money. Oh my God, man. This stuff is so crazy.
Now again, do we know for sure that Bill Gates did all of that? No, of course we don't. But do I think Bill Gates was innocently looking for charity advice from a after he already pled guilty? No, I don't. I'm sorry. I'm not that gullible. And speaking of not that gullible, we've been lied to also by another richest guy on the planet. Geez, it's a shock why they don't want to put this out. Elon Musk, who has been saying 4 years that it is a lie that he went to Epstein's island. In fact, he says he refused to go. From Elon, he says, Epstein tried to get me to go to his island. I refused. He says, anyone pushing this false narrative deserves complete contempt. Later responding to another headline, which said Elon Musk planned trip to Epstein's private island. And he says, this is false. But of course, we start to dig through the files and we can see on Epstein.
Dog, you're caught in black and white, bro. Stop trying to weasel your way out of it. We've all seen the emails now. He literally was like, can I please come to your wildest party? I would really like to cut loose. I would really like the island experience. Wink, wink. Like, bro, you are so caught. And such a loser that you had the pedophile billionaire cabal of elites going, I don't know if I want this guy there, bro.
Calendar that Elon Musk is booked in December 6th of 2014. But maybe you don't believe that. That's just the word of Jeffrey Epstein. But maybe you'll believe the word of Elon Musk, who was caught emailing Jeffrey Epstein to go to his island post the guilty plea. Elon Musk writes, we'll be in BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Good time to visit. Jeffrey Epstein says, I will send a heli for you. Later, Elon Musk writes to Epstein, probably just to Lula and me, his ex-wife, what day and night would be the wildest party on your island? The world's richest man is asking the most vile man for the wildest party on his island. And then it gets more explicit. In 2012, remember, this guy said, I refused it. I could never do that, right? It's false. But here in 2012, he says, do you have any parties planned? I've been working to the edge of my sanity this year. I really want to hit the party scene in St. Bart's or elsewhere and let loose. The invitation is much appreciated, but a peaceful island experience is the opposite of what I'm looking for. Guys, he can't even play the I went to go study math excuse, which is what all these guys do. They say, hey, I just went to go talk to scientists. Elon's like, hey, I don't want to do that. I'm looking for a party.
Bro basically wrote down like, Jeffrey, I'm wondering if you have any underage girls to do stuff with my penis. You basically put that down. What a loser. Oh my God. And a criminal.
That's what I'm here to do. And then Jeffrey Epstein writes, understood, I will see you on St. Barth. The ratio on my island might make your ex-wife uncomfortable. I can't believe these guys are lying to us and people are swallowing it still, thinking that Elon Musk had nothing to do with this guy.
By the way, I cannot wait for Joe Rogan to completely and utterly avoid this like the plague, or try to spin it, or have Elon Musk to do damage control. Because those are the options. We know he's not just going to cut Elon off and start telling the truth. We know that's not going to happen. In fact, we're going to go through all these different Epstein files. You'll never guess which one email Joe Rogan found. The one about Bill Gates. Shockingly, missed all the ones about Trump, missed all the ones about Elon, missed all the ones about the Republicans, only found the Bill Gates one. What a hack. What a hack he is.
That's 2012. That's 2014. But guess what? There's another time in 2013. I mean, this seems like a yearly thing with the boys. Here, once again, Elon Musk writes, we'll be in the BVI St. Bart's area over the holidays. Again, is there a good time to visit? Jeffrey Epstein, any day, 1st of the 8th, play it by ear if you want, always space for you. They then plan some more, and you might think, well, if Elon ever told the truth, this is when he has to reject, right? Because he said, I refused. But actually, it appears to be one of those cases where, like, your friend says, like, oh, bro, I dumped her. And actually, it was the other way. Yeah, it turns out Elon didn't dump the dumped Elon. He says, bad news. Unfortunately, my schedule will keep me in New York. Hopefully, we can schedule another time in the future. Jeffrey Epstein let Elon down. That's actually the real story. Is the reason he didn't go in 2013 was because he couldn't go. Jeffrey Epstein was not there. Guys, I mean, how blatant do they have to make it before we start to just see through it, right? When they issue these ridiculous denials, they're totally associated with the guy after the guilty plea. They lie through their teeth, but they can't even keep their story straight. I mean, that's what's crazy. They're not even competent at this. They get caught in their own lies all the time. Remember, the FBI's official story was they didn't blackmail. Well, before we even had these files, Howard Lutnick was on the record calling Jeffrey Epstein the greatest blackmailer ever.
So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever.
Interesting. Okay, so Howard has a different perspective. Now, if you don't know, that guy, do you think he's just telling the truth there? Even this guy who's contradicting the official narrative, this guy literally lived next to Jeffrey Epstein. This guy was like, I'm gonna tell the truth. Those guys participated. That guy lives next to Jeffrey Epstein. And by the way, he lied too. I love this video we're about to get into because this guy, Mr. He's the greatest blackmailer ever, does he know something we don't know? Because it's interesting, Mr. I'm his neighbor had to also explain how he had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And he lays it out pretty simply. He goes, yep, I lived next to him, but in 2005, I had such a horrible experience that I knew I could never talk to him again.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
We move in 2005, okay? Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 2008, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. And there's a massage table in the middle of the room. Massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he like gets like weirdly close to me. And he says, and the right kind of massage. Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her and we say, I'm sorry, we have to go. And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Well, he couldn't be more clear, could he, right? He says, hey, I may have been his next door neighbor, but I met him once before the 2008 guilty plea. Remember I said that was a big deal? And we got invited over and it was like 5 seconds and we left and we realized he was a creep. We were out of there. He made this rude, lewd comment in front of my wife. I would never go see this guy. I mean, he makes it super clear he's gross.
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or for even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going because he's gross.
These other guys, they may have participated.
They participated.
But Howard Lutnick, he could never. No. He's too good of a guy. Well, guess what we found in the all emails? Looky. It's Howard Lutnick writing in to Jeffy Boy in 2012. Hi, Jeff. We're landing in St. Thomas early afternoon, planning to head over. Where are you located? What's the exact location for my captain? Does Sunday evening for dinner sound good? Is this the guy you said made a lewd comment to your wife and, I could never be in front of him. He's gross. Guess what the next email is? My boy's wife messaging in, saying we're headed towards you in St. Thomas. Later, the subject line, Jeffrey Epstein. Good morning, Howard. Jeffrey wished me to pass you along. Nice seeing you. They clearly met, and the guy is just lying about it to your face, to the American public's face, and they tried to hide it from us. I cannot emphasize this enough. They're lying through their teeth. You think this guy perfectly remembers a 2005, like walking in the guy's house? I remember exactly what I said to him. My wife and I looked at each other, and he wouldn't remember the 2012. I boated over to his private island for a dinner. Is that what we're really thinking? Is that what we're expected to believe? This is a momentary lapse in his judgment. No, these guys don't even care about being consistent. And they're all throwing each other under the bus. Don't you remember Elon Musk saying, the time to drop the really big bomb, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they haven't been made public. My guy, you also are in the Epstein files, very clearly doing stuff you lied about, okay? So is Howard Lutnick, who says, yeah, Bill Gates, he's probably getting blackmailed because he participated. What did you do on the island over in 2012, Howard? Do we know that? I mean, does anyone care? Now, the last thing I want to talk about is some of the most explosive stuff. It's also, again, I have to say, unverified, okay? This is the NTOC, the FBI's National Threat Operations Center. And the challenge with confirming some of this is that these are anonymous tips, or they black them out at least, so we don't know who they are, and anyone can drop a tip. Now, that doesn't mean that you should disregard them. It just means we can't verify them. The other challenge is that the FBI has a heavy incentive to discredit anything with Donald Trump in it, just because he's in the White House right now, obviously. And so I want to be clear, there are notes related to some of these submissions where they say things like complainant was spoken to and deemed not credible. Additional research showed 3 separate redacted. You know, it's hard to tell how much this is the proper due diligence of the FBI, which they should be doing, of course, and not all complaints are credible. But also there's this obvious conflict of interest with the fact that the sitting president is in some of these complaints. But here they are for what it's worth. Complaint summary. Blank reported an unidentified female friend who was forced to perform on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred, and the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing. Friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump.
This is the Katie Johnson one. Katie Johnson told her whole story, and it's on video, her testimony. We covered it, the entire thing, and reacted to it. And I think this is the exact same allegation.
The friend also said she was abused by Epstein. Later, there's very explosive claims about big parties with her, other younger girls, and older Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. There's claims third hand about a female victim of Epstein's who wants to publish a book citing Leslie Wexner, Epstein, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell is in the videos as well. And it goes on like this for a while. Some of the complaints are just like very graphic, and obviously I'm going to censor out some of it. But I should also mention the DOJ claims that some of these claims were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false, and if they had any shred of credibility, they would have certainly been weaponized against President Trump already.
The Katie Johnson one was not from 2020. The Katie Johnson one was from a long time ago. And allegedly the only reason she dropped that lawsuit, which was against both Epstein and Trump, is because of threats.
I agree that if a complaint is timed right before an election, there definitely could be some other motivations to that. But it's also ridiculous to say that anything in the Epstein files, if it were true, would have come out already. Because why didn't we see the stuff about Bill Gates, for example? I mean, that stuff apparently has been sitting in here for a long time. And not only did no one talk about it, the FBI literally covered for it. I mean, they said that this was not the case. There are big claims against a lot of powerful people. Nobody in that file really wants to rock the boat or release the files because then they get in trouble and their buddies get in trouble. And that's a huge problem. So I don't really buy the idea that, if it were true, it would have already gotten out. I don't buy that. That's why we need transparency. That's why it's important these files are out. But this is just to look at a small fraction of the files. And over the next few weeks, we're going to go through all of the major findings we can from this 3.5 million page document dump. But seriously, think about how discrediting this has been, not only to this administration, but to so many rich and powerful people who have lied through their teeth happily towards you in order to hide their relationship with this man that many of them held post-guilty plea. And some of them, now we know, Epstein prepared blackmail for them and, according to reports, threatened.
All right, take a look at this. A document released by the U.S. Department of Justice reveals Jeffrey Epstein was permanently banned from Xbox Live in 2013 for violating its policy on harassment, threats, and abuse. So some people are saying the reason is that. Some people are saying the reason is because he was a registered sex offender. Other people are saying Xbox is owned by Bill Gates, and Bill Gates banned Jeffrey Epstein just to try to get back at him. He banned him from Xbox. But there's a lot more juicy stuff than this. Look at this. Massive breaking. A witness swore under penalty of perjury that Donald Trump threatened a young girl, telling her she could, quote, disappear like another 12-year-old female, and then threatened to kill her entire family, according to Epstein-related court records. This allegation appears in dataset 9 of the Epstein file, and then it has the exact file. This is sworn testimony. If the witness fabricated this account, they would face multiple years in federal prison for perjury. So you have different levels of certainty, right? You have the FBI intake form, which could just be something as simple as a tip, could just be somebody hurling an allegation with no evidence, could be real also, though. But then you have stuff like this, which is a level up in terms of certainty that a person was willing to say this under threat of perjury. All right, more. So somebody emailed, do you happen to have anyone with influence over Assad? And Jeffrey Epstein responded, quote, not for email. So what you're going to see here is Jeffrey Epstein was so immensely connected. he was acting in this weird way as like shadow emperor of the world. He had power in virtually every country, one way or another. This is absolutely bonkers stuff here. Let's keep going. Epstein asked the Harvard professor Martin Novak, quote, "Did you torture her? Did you torture her?" And here's the email right here. If you'd like to, you can pause the video and you can see it. "Did you torture her?" is what he said. So as I said, going through these files, what became clear to me is that we're not only dealing with a cabal of pedophile billionaire elites who run the world, but many of these people, again, as you'll see, there's reason to believe they're into bestiality, they're into torture, they're into cannibalism, and this extreme wealth that they have, it has rotted their soul and totally blurred the lines between right and wrong, where they act like absolute monsters and animals and dehumanize everybody around them. And there's a lesson in that. There's a lesson in that about billionaires. We shouldn't have any billionaires because apparently they morph into demons when they hit that line of extreme wealth. All right, more. We literally have emails from victims of Epstein stating, quote, "The Epstein trafficking ring is still running and being funded today." So you can see it here highlighted in yellow because she was and still is a long-term employee of the Epstein trafficking ring that is still running and being funded today. So this might be another reason why we haven't seen arrests, we haven't seen cases, we haven't seen convictions. It might be the case that there's already deals cut, as was reported the other day, with like 29 people who are involved, could be including the 10 co-conspirators. There are already deals cut, and it could be that elements of the cabal, elements of the cartel, are still running today. All right, more. Previously tarnished by accusations, here's a newly released picture of Brett Ratner with his buddy Jeffrey Epstein and two of Epstein's girls/victims. The director of the $40 million Jeff Bezos Amazon Prime Video funded bomb of a documentary disguised bribe, who has been premiering the laughable infomercial with Melania for the past week, is in the Epstein web with Melania and her orange sugar daddy, another sexual predator in the Trump administration. Jeffrey Epstein circle can't make this shit up. Where's MAGA at? So here's the picture. So this guy, the other guy in the picture, the non-Jeffrey Epstein man in the picture, is the guy who directed the new Melania documentary, which absolutely bombed because there's nothing but a fluff piece on her. And I'm sure it's packed full of absolute lies. So not surprising, but like I said, at least like 30 people in Trump's inner circle are in the Epstein files. How about this? Talk about my GOAT. Larry Summers emailed Jeffrey Epstein to complain about some of his kids' admiration for Bernie Sanders. So they say Jamaica was very good, kids great, though tired of some of their admiration for Bernie Sanders. How are you? That's what from Larry Summers to Jeffrey Epstein. So the only time our boy Bernie is mentioned is where Larry Summers is shitting on him to the world's most notorious pedophile. Absolutely goated, Bernie Sanders is. Interesting drug price list from the new Epstein file release. So here we have, this was a one-stop shop for all your criminality. If you're a billionaire, or if you're an elite academic, or you know, an elite politician, big-time celebrity, this was a one-stop shop for criminality. So you can go down the list here and you see Epstein had access to coke, Coke Yellow Purge, Coke Pure, ketamine, DMT, LSD, Xanax, Klonopin, Percocet, Vicodin, oxycodone, OxyContin, methadone, morphine, Adderall, MDMA, ecstasy, Cialis, which is Viagra, which, right? So you have this as well. Absolutely horrifying to think about the stuff that was going on that island and at his properties. So here we have another email from Jeffrey Epstein to redacted. Quote, "Do you have the photo of you and girls in Paris when you looked fat and R-worded? Could you send?" There's bizarre stuff like this littered throughout all of the Epstein files. All right, here is Jeffrey Epstein talking to a huge Democratic donor by the name of Reid Hoffman, who, by the way, has been lying relentlessly about his association with Epstein and trying to pretend like he's exonerated in this when he's not. In the same way that guy on Twitter, @Jason, is also trying to say he's exonerated in this. He is not. None of these people are exonerated. There's emails of all of them, right? So here you have from Jeffrey Epstein to Reid Hoffman, "Okay, come to the island or the ranch. Let's play." Yikes. You say that with somebody if you're pretty fucking comfortable with that person and you've probably played in the past. There's also, of course, disturbing videos that came out. Ed Krasenstein posted this one. This bizarre video of Jeffrey Epstein chasing girls around his kitchen was released in the latest Epstein files yesterday. Watch this. Again, this is gross. So some people were able to find a still shot where you can see a little bit more, and it appears to be a young girl, and she's wearing a robe with nothing underneath. Disturbing. Absolutely disturbing. You could even hear from the laughs that this is somebody who's young. You could even hear from the giggling and the laughter. Jesus Christ. A newly released clip shows Jeffrey Epstein dancing with a redacted girl. I'm going to mute it so we don't get jacked on copyright here. But there's Jeffrey Epstein dancing. The other one is censored a little bit, although you can tell she's wearing some sort of red scarf or something like that. Black pants. Cannot tell the age of this one, but I would not be surprised if this one was also relatively young. So there's stuff like this littered throughout the files. All right, these Epstein emails are horrifying, man. Whatever the DOJ has alleged about this network, it's at least 1,000 times worse. So this is weird to me because on the one hand, you have so many emails where people are openly talking about, torture, and they're openly talking about pedophilia, and then you get stuff like this where they appear to be speaking in code. So from Roy Hodges to Jeffrey Epstein, this is in March of 2013. I wanted to let you know the crew really appreciated the pizza today. Thank you for letting us do that. All right, more. This is better than a Chinese cookie. See attached. Let's go for pizza and grape soda again. No one can understand. So another one here from Redacted to Epstein. You mean radiating a soft glow with the look of bliss and excitement? Yeah, that's the pizza. What the fuck? Then underneath here it says, she looks pregnant. Huh? How about this one? From GMax, which is Ghislaine Maxwell to Jeffrey Epstein. Start from the bottom here, and it says, if you are not too busy, click on a video below to watch it. To blank from Jeffrey Epstein. I watched them all. Please don't send any more. And then you have Ghislaine Maxwell chimes in and says, sorry, I have no stomach for even the slightest aggro. I don't have the stomach for it or for any drama, imaginary or real. I'm still fragile off the last one and scared of shadows. What the fuck were these people doing, bro? What were they doing? So that stuff may be code. The pizza stuff might be code. All right, more. Which, by the way, looks like Pizzagate was real, but just not in the way that the right-wingers thought it was, where it was like this democratic network of pedophiles. It turns out that code may be real, but it was projection used by Bannon and Epstein and Trump to try to tar Hillary with all the stuff that they were doing in their social circle. Absolutely incredible. All right, how about this one? Disturbing photos in the Epstein files appear to show Prince Andrew on all fours over a woman lying on the ground. So here you can see this. Very disturbing. Don't know what the hell's going on here, but obviously he's been stripped of his royal titles because of his affiliation with Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein releases 2020 email references Prince Andrew was accessory to the death of a young girl he tortured and instructed to murder. Excuse me? So if you start at the bottom here, back in the 90s, Ghislaine Maxwell recruited a girl from a modeling career. Instead of modeling, she was sold as a slave for sex and torture. Prince Andrew was an accessory to her death as he tortured her and me to force her murder. I need to get a passport to identify her. I will need someone to contact the passport office to get an expedited passport. What the hell is this? So this is the to and the from are redacted here, but the subject says Ghislaine Maxwell. So this is incredibly bizarre. And then some people were speculating, hey, is this picture tied to that? Right? I don't know if the dates line up, but is this picture tied to that? There's literal allegations of like torture and murder that are in these things here. All right, this one is absolutely crazy. I couldn't even believe this one was real when I saw this. So this guy at Delete Shitcoin in on October 28th of 2022 said the following: CIA and Mossad and pedo elite are running some kind of sex trafficking entrapment blackmail ring out of Puerto Rico and Caribbean islands. They're going to frame me with a laptop planted by my ex-girlfriend who was a spy. They will torture me to death. So this person said this, and then literally like a couple days later, he was killed. This is absolutely wild. He tweeted this and died from drowning the exact same day. And there's an article about it here in the New York Post. Drowning death of crypto visionary Nikolai Mushegian. Absolutely insane. Posted this, then was killed. And people are saying, look, is this all the evidence of that the cartel is still in existence? They are still in existence. They are still doing their thing. And of course, it's tied into intelligence agencies. Again, that's the part of this so many people are missing too, is that clearly it was a honeypot operation and it was a blackmail operation. But Epstein would freelance for different intelligence agencies. He worked with the KGB, he worked with Mossad, he worked with the CIA, but he had so much dirt on so many people, and they could control people with this stuff. So here we have another email from Redacted to Jeffrey Epstein. I simply cannot believe this victory, talking about Trump's win against Hillary. No one called it. We all thought she'd win. You must be happy, though. I remember flying back with Donald on his plane the first weekend I went to visit you in Florida. Was the weekend he met Melania, and he kept on coming out of the bedroom saying, wow, what a hot piece of ass. Nuts. Anyway, hope you're enjoying Saudi. Absolutely insane. By the way, was this in the documentary? I'm just curious. Was this part in the documentary? Did they talk about this part? I'm pretty sure they didn't. How about this one? Jeffrey Epstein's cellmate told the FBI that Epstein was involved in an orgy with Tony Blair during his interview with law enforcement. I would sure like to investigate the origins of this plan to have convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein lead an annual modeling contest for all the top girls of all Russia. Who pitched this idea? And then this is exactly what it is. It's to Epstein from Redacted. And this person is pitching this idea after he was already a convicted pedophile. They say, hey, why don't you come to Russia? We'll set up like a Miss Russia World or something like that. And you could have access to all these girls. What the fuck? So again, tremendous evidence that he's worked with the KGB, Mossad, and the CIA running a blackmail operation, had extreme power and control. So Emily from Breaking Points found this one, unknown sender from Jeffrey Epstein, to Redacted from Jeffrey Epstein. Warm washcloth, loved it. He almost passed out the very instant I applied it. Oh, and the tickle under the you-know-what worked too. Hee hee hee. Thank you again, Jeffrey. All your secret tricks will hopefully land me a man one of these days. Hee hee. Have a great day. What the fuck? What are we looking at here? This one is wild. Just Barack Obama's White House counsel giving Jeffrey Epstein advice on how to answer questions about Donald Trump having sex with a girl at his house. At his house. So this is one of the things that we got from the last Epstein files dump, is Trump was outed. This is way before he even ran for president. I believe the year was 2011. Trump was outed in a Jeffrey Epstein email that Epstein thought nobody would ever read, where he casually says, yes, Trump is at the house with one of the victims, and they've been there for hours. And so that, without a doubt, that means Epstein's houses were bugged. There's video of Trump doing all sorts of stuff with underage girls. There's video of it. And so this was an instance of Jeffrey Epstein looking for how, and this was on March 30th of 2016. They were trying to navigate, hey, how do we handle it if there are questions about Trump having sex with a girl at my house? Absolutely wild, bro. Just so wild. Midas Touch says, Trump's new pick for Fed chair makes an appearance in today's Epstein files release. They're all, bro, there's dirt on all these people. They're all compromised. They're all blackmailed. And so, like, whose bidding are they doing is the question, right? All right, more. An email from Melania to her dear friend Ghislaine. So this was all the way back in 2002. So Melania says, Dear G, how are you? Nice story about J.E. Jeffrey Epstein in New York Magazine. You look great on the picture. I know you are very busy flying all over the world. How was Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you are back in New York. Have a great time. Love, Melania. So yet again, what people are speculating vis-a-vis Melania is, bro, she came out of this world. Did she directly come out of the world of fucking human trafficking that Jeffrey Epstein was involved in? Was she one of these girls? And we learned this in the last Epstein files dump. He had passports of all of these women from mostly the post-Soviet bloc countries after the Soviet Union collapsed. They used that as basically their hunting grounds for underage girls who they would kidnap and abduct and sell into sex slavery. And did Melania come out of that world? That's the question. And I don't know, man, but I think the answers are kind of clear if you think about it. By the way, the first time Trump and Melania had sex was allegedly on Jeffrey Epstein's pedophile plane, the Lolita Express. Do with that whatever you will. All right, more. Epstein and Ghislaine reminisce about their fossil hunting trip with RFK. So from one of Jeffrey Epstein's other emails, or excuse me, from GMAX to one of Epstein's other emails, which is jevacation@gmail.com. Love that. Didn't we go fossil hunting with him and Bobby Kennedy in North Dakota? Dinosaur and fossil hunting with Jack Horner on the ranch. Found 90 million year old clams and fossils right up your alley. And so multiple times RFK comes up. He was deeper in this world than anybody realized. And there's even speculation about the wife of his that wound up dead, by the way. There's even speculation about that. How exactly did that happen? The story we were told is that she found Robert F. Kennedy's book about all the affairs he had, which went into excruciatingly lewd detail, and that the wife found it and the wife killed herself. But now people are going back and questioning, is that really what happened? Is that really? Because RFK was running in these circles where murder was nothing. This is the craziest, perhaps, of them all. So, creator and past owner of 4chan, a guy by the name of Chris Poole, known as Moot, was in contact with Epstein and then possibly opened up the board, the Reddit for politics, or the politically incorrect Reddit, this like right-wing giant Reddit, after meeting with him. So people are saying the timeline lines up perfectly where this guy may have created this like online right-wing atmosphere, which birthed Gamergate, which birthed like every, MAGA far-right movement online. It may have literally been a psyop created at the hand of Jeffrey Epstein. Sean McCarthy says, pretty stunning. Ghislaine Maxwell was one of the most active and powerful Reddit mods. We learned that in the past. And the politics board is where QAnon was birthed. Among other things, the Epstein network was managing one of the largest online informational warfare ops in history. Bro, if you are on the right, you were fucking psyoped by Jeffrey Epstein to have the politics that you have right now. You were psyoped by Jeffrey Epstein. Breaking, immediately after meeting Epstein, the founder of 4chan launched the politically incorrect subreddit, the subreddit POL, effectively a Nazi forum. Epstein and Maxwell targeted 4chan and Reddit on behalf of Israel. All right, more. Seeing as the 4chan community evolved into the Groypers, and Groypers are the ones now ecstatically praising and defending Epstein, I'd say it might be the most successful Mossad op of all time, apart from JFK. So the 4chan founder Moot is in the Epstein files, and it looks like a meeting with Epstein may have led to the creation of this online right-wing environment which fostered every far right-wing movement and helped to destroy this country. From the Epstein files, in March 2018, Steve Bannon emailed Epstein a Daily Beast article titled, "How Close is Donald Trump to a Psychiatric Breakdown?" Epstein replies that Melania, Netanyahu's indictment, and Jared Kushner's money grubbing are a recipe for tragedy. And this was, again, Epstein was, I believe, arrested in 2019, was killed himself in 2019. I don't think he killed himself. I think Trump murdered him. And here he is in 2018, casually talking to Steve Bannon. One of the other things we learned is how close Sloppy Steve and Jeffrey Epstein were. They would text every day, like a giddy high school couple. They would text all day, every day. All right, more. From the Epstein files, Jeffrey Epstein was messaging contacts in real time as the Khashoggi story broke and speculating that MBZ set up MBS. Jamal Khashoggi was killed on October 2nd, 2018. By October 12th, the story had become an international crisis. That day, Epstein emailed a contact, "Smells like something bigger to me. I wouldn't be surprised if MBZ set him up." He then messaged someone else, quote, "What I'm told, secondary source, is that one of the assassins put the video on his phone and it was hacked." October 13th, Epstein again, quote, "Can they label him a terrorist? Covert op gone bad? Honey trap Turks? MBZ?" Then the same night, a message to Epstein, quote, "MBZ asked me to come over and see him ASAP, leaving in the morning." Epstein had sources inside the operation. He was speculating the UAE's Mohammed bin Zayed set up the hit to burn MBS, and someone in his circle was being summoned to meet MBZ the next day. A convicted sex trafficker running point on Gulf Royal intrigue during an assassination cover-up. That's what was happening. And this is all laid out in this set of emails right here. How the fuck was this guy so connected everywhere? So connected everywhere. Like I said, weird shadow emperor type stuff, pulling the puppet strings behind the scenes. Absolutely incredible. Incredible. All right, more. From Steve Bannon to Epstein 4 months before his death. Quote, "We need to work around your 38. First, we need to push back on the lies, then crush the pedo trafficking narrative, then rebuild your image as a philanthropist." Again, so many texts between Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein. And by the way, Emily from Breaking Points did a whole long thread detailing a lot of the juicy stuff in their back and forths. Okay. Steve Bannon should be like excised from polite society. Nobody should watch his shitty show, The War Room. Everybody should be calling him out as a fraud. He was literally besties with the world's most notorious pedophile child sex trafficker. And now you're supposed to be taken serious like some sort of fucking leader, like some sort of serious political thinker. No, you were in on the conspiracy that you pretend to deride on a daily basis. All right, this is crazy. Richard Branson told Jeffrey Epstein to, quote, bring his harem the next time they met, as he gave pedophile PR advice after conviction for procuring minor for prostitution. Like George Carlin famously said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. This is without a doubt a cabal of pedophile billionaire elites who run the world, and they are into disgusting, disgusting stuff, and they dehumanize everybody who doesn't have extreme wealth or power or privilege. How about this? Emails allege that Jeffrey Epstein traveled to Paris with filmmaker Woody Allen in March 2012 for what was described in the correspondence as a pedophile convention. Here's the email right here. Start from the bottom. From Jeffrey Epstein to redacted. Paris with Woody Allen. Sorry for all the typos. And then the response is, for less pedophile convention? I think pedophilie is the plural. So here they are saying, we're at a convention together. I guess it's the pedophile convention because it's me and Woody Allen together, and you know how we are, right? They just say it. They just say this stuff out loud sometimes. Half the time they're using the, would you like some pizza and grape soda and Chinese cookie? They're speaking in code. The other half the time they're like, I sure do love pedophilia and torture. Did you torture her? Oh my God, bro. Holy shit. From the Epstein files, Epstein forwarded a blind item about Trump Jr. fucking Hope Hicks to several people. The item was apparently sent to Epstein by Sidney Blumenthal. That's crazy, bro. I think that's Max Blumenthal's dad. That's fucking crazy. So Trump Jr. fucking Hope Hicks. Oh, we got more dirty, dirty stuff like that coming up in just a little bit. You wait for it. Okay, so this story is crazy. So there's this like Norwegian crown princess, and she had a super close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. So look at this. The crown princess of Norway was asking Jeffrey Epstein for parenting advice about showing her 15-year-old son naked women. In November of 2012, the crown princess Mette Marit emails Epstein, is it appropriate for a mother to suggest two naked women carrying a surfboard for his wallpaper, I believe it was. And the whole correspondence is here. So bizarre. So bizarre. In 2012, he's already a convicted pedophile. And you're asking a convicted pedophile advice as a mom, hey, can I show my son naked girls? Can I do that? What the fuck is this? Ready? So we get, so the son whose mother asked Jeffrey Epstein about naked women wallpaper is the same man now on trial for raping 4 women. In 2012, Crown Princess Mette Marit emailed Epstein, quote, is it inappropriate for a mother to suggest 2 naked women carrying a surfboard for my 15-year-old son's wallpaper? Epstein, a convicted sex offender at the time, told her to let him decide. That son, Marius Borg Høiby, now faces 38 criminal charges, including 4 counts of rape. The trial starts Tuesday. Historians called this the biggest scandal in Norway's 120-year royal history. That was before the Epstein files showed his mother appears over 1,000 times, visiting his Palm Beach house, which was bugged, taking his parenting advice, and having his staff arrange her flights and drivers. Again, stop and think about this. How is this man he's tied in hardcore with British royalty through Prince Andrew, tied in super close with Norwegian royalty. What did they do to this poor kid that they fucked him up this much? Where now he's the criminal of all criminals and he's like raping women left and right, and find out his mom was emailing Epstein, had a close relationship with Epstein. What the fuck did they do to this kid? Was this kid ever on the island? And why is it that all these people with immense wealth and immense privilege, they're all involved in this ring? It is so fucking bizarre. It is so bizarre. All right, speaking about people with immense wealth and power, casual email from Sultan bin Sulayem. Every married man keeps wondering every evening, should I go out and look at what I cannot fuck, or stay home and fuck what I don't want to look at? This is an email from Sultan bin Sulayem to Jeffrey Epstein in May of 2012. Absolutely insane. Here's another one Emily found. Sender unknown on this one. It says, there's an email to Epstein. Do you mind if I fuck someone with a condom? Bitch, what? What are we even looking at? This is raising more questions than it's answering. How about this one? Jeffrey Epstein, quote, animals are fun to watch. Sometimes. Peter Thiel sends a creepy smiley face. Let me repeat that. Epstein says in 2018 to Peter Thiel. Remember, Peter Thiel went on Rogan's show and said, who, me, bro? I just knew Epstein, but like I only asked him like tax advice or whatever, bro. No big deal. Really? So here he is from Epstein to Peter Thiel. Animals are fun to watch sometimes. And Peter responds with a creepy ass smiley face. That's great. That's not a sign that he's into bestiality and Lord knows whatever else. This is from The Athletic. Breaking news. Convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein connected New York Giants chairman and co-owner Steve Tisch with multiple women, according to newly released emails. Tisch received scouting reports on women from Epstein, and the two men discussed whether women were pro or civilian or a working girl. The emails sent in 2013 were among more than 3 million Epstein-related documents that the Department of Justice released Friday. There are also emails between Epstein and women who wrote about their encounters with Tisch. Holy shnikes. In the Epstein files, Lord Mandelson, the UK's former ambassador to the US, standing in his underwear, talking to a young woman who is wearing a white bathrobe. Lord Mandelson said that the peer had no recollection of the photograph being taken and had no idea where it was taken or who had taken it. So this guy, by the way, I believe he had to resign from his position in the UK Labour Party because he was super duper close with Epstein and Maxwell. And all these people, they were engaged in some jack nasty ass shit, y'all. An email exchange involving Jeffrey Epstein shows how casually threats of violence were discussed after accusations that a third party had lied. Redacted sender to Epstein, quote, I give you permission to kill him. He is apparently with Olga. He lied to you and he lied to me. Jeffrey Epstein, whoops. Redacted sender, no one will lie to you and get away with it from me. No one. Whoops is correct. So again, what we're looking at here is pedophilia, bestiality, torture, sexual torture, cannibalism, murder, all casually discussed. And this one was in 2014, by the way, that they were having this conversation. More. Jeffrey sharing some of his favorite Bible verses. So here is Epstein in 2014, and two redacted from Epstein. And he goes through his favorite Bible verses here. And, oh, would you look at that? All of them are the most psychopathic Bible verses that are out there. Quote, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled and their wives ravished. Thou shalt surely smite the inhabitants of that city with the edge of the sword, destroying it utterly. Thus said the Lord God of Israel, put every man his sword by his side, and go in and out from gate to gate through the camp, and slay every man his brother, and every man his companion, and every man his neighbor. When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and seest amongst the captives a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldst have her to thy wife. So it's basically like pillage, murder, and rape. Do that. That's what we want you to do. That's what God wants you to do. By the way, there's also a disturbing number of correspondence in the files that have come out where clearly Jeffrey Epstein was a Jewish supremacist, where he would always talk about the goyim, which is like basically like the infidels, but for Judaism, the people who are not the chosen people, the people that are not Jewish. And he clearly believed in race science, more on that in a little bit. And he clearly put himself at the top of the hierarchy, and he would talk about, the goyim who are less than human. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy, crazy stuff. Epstein's sex empire was a KGB honey trap. Pedophile financier had multiple talks with Putin after conviction, with Russian girls flown in to harvest compromat on world-famous figures. So understand something, and this is not surprising, but it's what's happening. You do have, the Western media is not afraid to talk about the KGB links when it comes to Epstein, which are true, which are real, but they will not, with a 10-foot pole, touch the claims about how he's a Mossad agent. The fact of the matter is, he's worked with the CIA, Mossad, and the KGB. He was a freelancer, and he had all this dirt running a blackmail honeypot operation, and he worked with a number of different intelligence agencies. So, but they're only going to focus on one because they don't want to besmirch Israel in the West. So absolutely, absolutely crazy stuff. All right, more. An extremely personal email from Jeffrey Epstein. This reads like a drunk breakup text to another man. So this was written in 2012. Look at this. Josh, You asked me to share your life with you. I excitedly accepted. I shared my highs, my lows, my dreams, my body, every single part of my body. You came home from work telling me you earned millions of dollars, then fought, screamed with me over 5,000. You wanted peace and quiet. You demanded I share the peace, but withheld the prosperity. You told me often how much I cost you, how expensive I was. It showed little respect to the both of us, but I love you and overlooked it. And you asked me to violate a basic conviction of mine and have an abortion. What the fuck is this? Your mother said it would be in your best interest if I did. You now asked why you should be ashamed now that it is the high holy days. It's simple. You behave just like the goyim. See, what I was just talking about. You do not respect. After the holidays, I will be willing to share a meal. No sex, none. I love you. My Jewish study said that at 13, you should become a man. It's not too late. So 2 redacted from Jeffrey Epstein in September of 2012. So fucking bizarre. So fucking bizarre all this stuff is. Jeffrey Epstein funded a white supremacist YouTube channel. Can't make it up. So Jean-Francois Gariepi is a Canadian neuroscience and far-right political commentator. He's been in YouTube circles for a long time. There's actually a clip of him talking to Richard Spencer back in the day where he says to Richard Spencer, full disclosure, I got $25,000 from Jeffrey Epstein. And then as Aquila says here, don't even look up his wife that went missing / is dead, talking about Jean-Francois Gariepi. But here you have Jeffrey Epstein funding race science peddlers, junk race science peddlers. That's what he's doing. This one is crazy. Shout out to Jeet here for this. The new batch of Epstein documents helps illuminate one contemporary controversy. What is Bari Weiss up to at CBS? I think the answer is she is trying to rehabilitate the Epstein network as a bulwark of reactionary centrism. Let me explain. Let's lay out the connections. Bari Weiss's partner and ideological collaborator, Nellie Bowles, was on very familiar terms with Epstein. And there's countless emails with Bowles and Epstein going back and forth. And Bowles is from a very wealthy, prominent family, okay? And so here's just one of the emails. Announcing her plans for CBS, Weiss said she wants to marginalize the radical right and left while elevating charismatic centrist voices such as Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's former lawyer and crony. She literally did say that. And of course, another voice being elevated by Weiss is Peter Attia. There's another guy, we'll get to him in a second, but Peter Attia is all over the Epstein files, saying all sorts of horrible shit. In fact, here, I'll read this one for you. You know what the biggest problem is being friends with you? The life you lead is so outrageous, and yet I can't tell a soul. Jesus Christ. This is what Attia said to Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, Weiss has brought on Steven Pinker to CBS as part of her new town hall format, and she has used Larry Summers for the free press. But of course, now Summers is too toxic to rehabilitate. Steven Pinker also knew Epstein. Weiss presents her mission at CBS as restoring trust by elevating centrist voices, which is accurate enough if we understand centrist voices to mean the type of men likely to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. I completely forgot to mention, Weiss did a lengthy, friendly interview with one of Epstein's closest friends, Woody Allen. That's right. Weiss's project is creating an Operation Paperclip for Epstein's cronies, taking a group of discredited men and rehabilitating them as necessary pillars of system. Dershowitz and Peter Attia are the Werner von Braun's of reactionary centrism. So this is all just factual. What he's describing here is just factual. Bari Weiss and her wife, her wife was super close with Epstein. They're trying to rehabilitate all these people in the Epstein circle and bring back this sort of MAGA-adjacent, hardcore Zionist centrism. It looks like Bari Weiss, the whole operation is an op. The whole operation is an Israeli psyop to go soft on MAGA, prop up Israel, and bring back Epstein-adjacent centrism. That's really what's happening here. Absolutely incredible stuff. Haven't seen many people talking about this, but here is the diary of a little girl who was raped, tortured, and used as a human incubator and forced to have abortions. It mentions Mar-a-Lago, Jeffrey Epstein, Jean-Luc Brunel, another pedophile who committed suicide in prison, Ghislaine Maxwell, and others. So the link is right here. I've gone through it. It's real. It's real, and it's disturbing. So a little girl who is raped, tortured, and used as a human incubator. Okay, forced to have abortions, but some, I believe, she gave birth. Okay, more. Todd Blanche today admitted there is death portrayed in some sex films in the Epstein files, which is exactly what Sasha Riley has claimed. Think about it. Some of these men who participated or watched are governing you. By the way, the Sasha Riley thing, I'm going to do a big breakdown of the Sasha Riley claims as well. Couldn't get to it today because we got all these other new Epstein files, but Sasha Riley has a bunch of bombshell claims. And now what we're learning is a lot of that stuff that was fully redacted, some of it is death portrayed in sex films. And Epstein was very clearly involved in this like snuff film empire. He was involved in this snuff film empire. And it appears like the people who are into this sort of stuff, again, perhaps not a coincidence, but it's pedophile billionaire elites. It is this cabal of pedophile billionaire elites that seemingly rule over us. And their extreme wealth has fucking rotted their souls to the point where they no longer exist. All right, this is crazy. In 2009, a 21-year-old Gabriela Rico Jimenez was filmed after claiming she had attended an exclusive party. She vanished that night, never to be seen again. In 2026, Epstein's victims claim elites did the same. A coincidence, I'm sure, right? So here we go. Look at this. So from redacted to redacted, I'd like to add a few other points disclosed by the purported victim. While on this yacht, he witnessed African-American males having sex with white blonde females, all of whom were bleeding during intercourse. He was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut with a scimitar but left no scarring. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines removed, and individuals eating the feces from these intestines. He was also graped by George Bush I. What the fuck? So as you can see here, it says to and from is redacted, but you can see here that this involves the NYPD Detective Bureau of Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force. And so here we go. Look at this. Look at this video, which people are now recirculating. They ate humans. Disgusting. They ate humans. I wasn't aware of anything. I mean, about the murders, yes. But that they had eaten humans. They smell like human flesh. I mean, again, how do we even process all this? Here's a picture that came out in the Epstein files. You can see Jeffrey Epstein standing here with somebody who's redacted. But if you look around, you see these red circles. It says CIA, 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 CIA. So it's like some storage place that has a bunch of like CIA bins, which again, people are further pointing to, they're pointing to the fact that I guess he also worked with the CIA on top of Mossad, on top of the KGB. Very, very powerful guy here. Disturbing. New Epstein footage appears to show underage girls dancing. Here we go. I'm going to mute it because again, you could hear the music. But if you look here, all you see is the legs dancing. And let's just say that doesn't look like an adult female, right? That does not look like an adult. It doesn't. So this is a disturbing video, and there's stuff like this littered all throughout the Epstein files. Okay. Now, here is one. I think the investigators online really pulled it off. I think the sleuths got one here. Okay. So here's an Epstein email from 2009, April 24th of 2009. From Jeffrey Epstein to redacted. Okay. Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video. So to Jeffrey Epstein from, again, redacted. Here we go. I am in China. I will be in the U.S. the second week of May. Sent from a BlackBerry. Okay. So late April of 2009. Where are you? I love the torture video. I'm in China. I'll be in the U.S. the second week of May. Ready for this? Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu meets with Yang Jiechi April 23rd, 2009 in China at the exact same time. But ready? It goes deeper. Remarks by President Obama and Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in press availability. May 18th, 2009. So everything lines up here for this email to be with Benjamin Netanyahu. It all lines up here for this email to be with Benjamin Netanyahu, where you have casual talk about the torture video. Looks like Netanyahu sent Epstein a torture video. And Epstein said, I love the torture video. Jesus Christ. That would be way too on the fucking nose, too. That would be way too on the nose. One of the most well-known parts of the Epstein saga is that then U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta said he gave Epstein such a shockingly lenient plea deal because he was told Epstein belonged to intelligence. That was long based on one anonymous source in the Daily Beast tabloid, and Acosta explicitly denied saying this. But now there's more evidence and more details. The FBI report describes a confidential source reporting the same thing to them about Acosta and claims it was Epstein attorney Alan Dershowitz who said Acosta had to give Epstein a lenient deal because Acosta was told of his ties to Intel, meaning both U.S. intelligence and the Mossad. So further validation on that theory. Emily from Breaking Point says, hell of a December 2018 exchange here between Bannon and Epstein. Epstein says he's getting John Bolton on board with the idea that Qatar is the linchpin in the Middle East. And Bannon says, while he got Bolton his NSA job, quote, he will never cross Sheldon Adelson. This one I find interesting because it's like, you look at a guy like John Bolton, huge warmonger, was involved in foreign policy for decades, right? And here you have Bannon saying, well, I helped get him his NSA job, which, by the way, I thought you were anti-warmonger, Steve. What's that about? But he says, oh, he will never cross Sheldon Adelson. Why is that? Who was really in charge? Who was really controlling foreign policy in this country? This is an admission from sloppy Steve Bannon that the foreign policy is coming directly from Sheldon Adelson when he pays his hundreds of millions of dollars to basically buy the government and get whatever policy he wants. Jesus Christ. So here's another one where one of the people that Barry Weiss just hired, that guy, Peter Attia, he was caught emailing with Jeffrey Epstein where he's talking about pussy is indeed low carb. Still awaiting results on gluten content, though. And he also said to him, like, the biggest problem of being friends with you is that I can't tell people what you do. And so here you have a guy just got hired at CBS by Barry Weiss, and as you can see here, involved in some dark, disgusting, dirty stuff with Epstein. All right, another one from Bannon and Epstein. They mentioned Trump's new assistant, Madeleine Westerhout, as a new friend of Trump. Bannon calls her a grundoon, one of his favorite pejoratives. Epstein refers to her as knee pads, and she is, quote, doing God's work. Epstein then writes, he's much more calm, but the sight of him in the residence in his undies is hard to fathom. I'll give you details when I see you. So this is the text exchange here. So they appear to be saying that this Madeleine Westerhout woman was involved in a relationship with Donald Trump where she would suck him off. And then, by the way, this is that girl in question that we're talking about here. I'll zoom in a little bit. The one in the red dress here. They had a falling out at some point, but the allegation from Bannon and Epstein is that they were engaged in some sort of a sexual relationship. All right, this is crazy. So Kash Patel comes out. Remember this? This was a while ago, but he said, quote, there's no credible information that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked minors. Okay? That's what he said. This is flat out perjury. We now know that as a matter of fact. We literally have the fucking passports. We have text messages where he's buying and selling girls like they're cars or some shit. Okay? But he said, quote, there is no credible information that Epstein trafficked minors. Ready for this? This picture came out in this document dump. This picture right here. Very clearly, these young girls, right? These young girls and this old, disgusting man. Jesus Christ. This one, people are speculating about. I don't even know what to believe about this one, bro. But here you have another email where involving Epstein. I have not. He has declined to give me a copy. Melania, not living with him. Nikki Haley, Trump says blowjob, but who can trust him? You, lots, Nick Ayers, mentioned in the Palm Beach house sale, hopefully not anywhere else. So here, there's an allegation that Nikki Haley sucked off Trump. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. I can't. I need the Men in Black flashy thingy after reading all this stuff, man. I don't even know what to think about this or what to say about this. Drops I News says, leadership would like your help. Indian billionaire tapped Jeffrey Epstein before Modi's visit to the U.S. and Israel. New Department of Justice documents reveal Epstein's direct role in fostering ties between Indian, Israeli, and U.S. elites. So again, Shadow Emperor, seemingly Shadow Emperor. There's a new thing that just came out, an audio recording of Epstein talking to Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel. This is after he's out of office. And Ehud Barak's like, well, what should I do now? And Epstein says, look into Palantir. Look into Palantir. You can make some money if you invest in Palantir. And then also it appeared to be the beginning of the relationship between the Israeli government and Palantir, which led to this fucking AI-powered genocide that we just watched live streamed in 4K. That could be the literal beginning of getting the technology where they did this AI-powered genocide. It was that audio recording of Ehud Barak and Jeffrey Epstein, and that led to a partnership between Peter Thiel and Palantir and the Israeli government, and we know how that wound up. All right. Trump comes out after all this, and he dares to say, quote, it actually absolves me. The Epstein files, actually, they absolve me. I don't know. He thinks you're fucking stupid. He thinks everybody in this country is fucking stupid and he could just get away with relentless lies. Then we also have, at least in other countries, there's some justice, there's some consequences. Like I said, there was one British politician who lost his position as a direct result of this. The Slovakia Prime Minister's national security advisor also resigned over his Epstein links. Okay? So other places there appear to be consequences. Here, of course, Trump's a bull in a china shop and doesn't give a fuck. He's tarnished 1,000 ways to Sunday and just keeps acting like he could just do whatever he wants. How about this? The Guardian. Epstein lawyers discuss possibility of cooperation with prosecutors days before his death, files reveal. Less than 2 weeks before convicted abuser was found dead, lawyers met with Manhattan federal prosecutors. That's wild. So as Trump is president, he gets locked up in a federal facility under Trump, and he just started talking about cooperation with prosecutors, and then he winds up dead. Then he winds up dead. Gee, I wonder what happened there. And then finally, I'll leave you with this, guys. Look at Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro. Weasley little Ben Shapiro. The Epstein files don't exist, according to Ben Shapiro. He wasn't trafficking underage girls to powerful men. It's a conspiracy theory, speculation without supporting evidence. Quote, it's debunked. There's nothing there. Ben Shapiro says about the Epstein files. There's nothing there. You should never, ever, 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 ever trust any right-wing commentator ever again. By the way, he just flat out went out and lied about it. A lot of them right now are lying by omission. Their fucking lips are sealed. They're not saying anything because they know how bad this looks for Trump. They know how bad it looks for everybody involved. They know it totally blows up the MAGA mythology of Trump as the king going after the deep state and trying to bring about justice and get all the pedophiles. No, he is the pedophile. And he's part of that pedophile billionaire cabal of criminals. He's part of it. And so now we know from these leaks and the last leaks, we now know that they haven't even released all the files yet, by the way. It's only like half the files have been released. And Lord only knows, this is the part they were less afraid to release. Who knows what's in the other parts, right? All the CSAM that was kept out, all the torture stuff, the murder stuff, the cannibalism stuff. I mean, this shit gets dark as fuck, bro. It gets dark. But now we know just how bad it is. And now we know all the connections with Trump and Epstein as well. So we already know they were best friends for a decade. We already know Trump was on Epstein's plane 8 times. We already know he went to the island. We know that the first time Trump and Melania had sex was allegedly on the Lolita Express. We know that Epstein knew the inner workings of Trump's White House in the first term. We know that Trump and Epstein shared a girlfriend. We know that Epstein passed off a girl to Trump when she was 20 years old in 1993. We know that Trump wrote a creepy love letter to Epstein on his birthday. We know that Trump offered Epstein a job in his first term. That's one that's under-discussed. We know that Epstein learned human trafficking from Trump's teenage modeling agency. We know they had private events at Mar-a-Lago where it was just them two there, and there's all sorts of allegations about what happened then. We know there's detailed blackmail material like Trump with pictures with stain on his pants, videos of him with underage girls. We know there's the picture of him holding the giant check where Trump is buying a girl from Epstein. Any one of these things should bring down a presidency. Any one of these things. But we're still fucking sitting here and waiting because these people have no shame. Trump is just shoving his head in the sand and lying relentlessly. Lying relentlessly. So just disgusting, disgusting stuff. And there you have it, man. And I'm sure more stuff is going to come out over time. And the more we get it, I'll deliver it to you guys. And like I said, I'm still going to do a big old breakdown on the Sasha Riley thing. But, man, I got to take a fucking shower after learning about all this.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.